All right, so today I have 5 ideas for you to get you started in government contracting if you're somebody who's stuck with overwhelm of information or you're paralyzed by fear. We need to remember that every journey of 1,000 miles, starts with a single step. So today I'm going to give you 5 ideas, 5 steps for you to actually get started with. So my first idea is to respond to sources sought notices. Now, this one I'm leading with because there's an asterisk next to this, meaning for those who are past this stage and they're bidding on contracts, I don't recommend investing a lot of your precious time on responding to sources sought notices. But if you are someone who is trying to get started in the game of government contracting and say you got your KH code, but you're kind of just sitting on your hands and you're afraid to take that next step. In this instance, I believe responding to sources sought notices could be a great first idea to get you in the game. Because let's take a look at what responding to sources sought will require you to do. Number one, it's going to require you to find a sources sought notice on sam.gov that you might be interested in responding to. Okay, so it's going to get you looking and it's going to get you starting to filter and apply some criteria to what you like and what you don't like, and more importantly, what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. Once you find something, you're going to have to write to it. So sources sought notices are different than full-on, bid solicitation responses. For one, most often they do not require any sort of pricing component. So if calculating pricing or reaching out to subcontractors for pricing is something that's holding you back, good news, responding to a sources sought notice is typically not going to require that. Okay, but in addition to that, a sources sought notice is going to require you to put together some sort of customized capability statement so that you can get an idea of how you're grouping your services, what services your business offers, right? Especially if you're brand new to the space. And you're also likely going to be asked to answer to some specific questions. So you have some specific questions to respond to, you have a tailored capability statement, and then anything else that the sources sought notice asks for. And then the last step it gets you doing is actually emailing the contracting officer or the contracting specialist with your actual sources sought notice response. Now, there's a lot of things and common denominators that are in common with responding to sources sought notices with responding to solicitations, right? And that's why I really like this as a first idea if you're not already bidding, okay? Because again, it gets you reviewing, opportunities on SAM, it gets you reading, it gets you responding, and it gets you emailing contracting. All the same things you're gonna be doing with responding to a bid. So if you're stuck, you're held back, consider number one, responding to sources sought notices as a way to help get you unstuck and out of fear. Now, I also want to add, a little story, a little example, non-GovCon related. My partner, Lala, she would often struggle and just kind of get freaked out and overwhelmed with, she's actually sitting over here listening, what to do for dinner. What are we gonna do for dinner for the week, right? And so very often it was, what are we going to do today? What are we going to make today? What are we going to make today, right? So every day it was kind of a figuring out thing. It took the mental energy, and it took going through what are we going to thaw meat-wise, and all of this process every single day. But what we came up with was a very easy solution to kind of just remedy that, right? Just taking that first step to something better, which was just getting a little bit of one of those refrigerator magnet checklists with Monday through Sunday on it. So we can just take one day a week and figure out what we want to do for dinner each day. And then you don't have to return to it literally again until the next week. So just an example of something that could feel like, 1,000 miles, like a huge journey, but something so small and powerful that can help with this. So that's what I want to get you thinking. What are the small little things that you can do to help get you in government contracting, get you started, especially if you're being held back? So let's go ahead and look at our number 2 idea here. So number 2 is emailing a contracting officer about a solicitation. Emailing a contracting officer about a solicitation is different than a sources sought response. It's a live bid. That's what I'm asking you to do. And this is opening up a space for an interaction between you and a contracting officer. And it's not, here's my sources sought response like in the first idea, because there's really not going to be a whole lot of back and forth with that. But opening up an actual conversation or asking a question where there's going to be specific feedback to a contracting officer might be scary for many of you who are in this stage of being stuck or afraid. What this will teach you is to not be afraid. Contracting officers are people too, and this is just a job that they have, so that that edge can kind of be shaved off and not be so frightening to you if this is a certain part of government contracting that is restricting you, right? The other good thing about emailing a contracting officer is you can literally find their email address on any solicitation, source of sought notice, whatever, on sam.gov. It's not hard to find. So if one doesn't respond, you can do another. Now, I'm not saying to just go write anything, because we don't want to spam, and we certainly don't want to do anything to detract from our inevitable reputation in the space. But we can ask some empowering questions, right? So one empowering question could be, can you provide the point of contact for their small business office, OSDBU, or small business liaison with the agency, so that you can learn more about the agency opportunities, that could be a good fit for your small business, right? So that's more of if you're really scared, that's a very indirect and passive question. Something more direct would be finding an actual live solicitation on sam.gov, preferably something you might be interested in bidding on, and going through it and finding if you have legitimate questions. See if Q&A is posted, and if your question wasn't covered and the Q&A deadline hasn't surpassed yet, engage the contracting officer with direct, informed questions so that you can get direct feedback. After you do that, and after you get a few emails back from a contracting officer, it's going to shift the mind space that you live in. You're going to say, hey, I've got a few open threads with contracting officers. I'm kind of doing this GovCon thing, right? It starts to get you again in the game. And these are just the little wins, just like the refrigerator, magnet thing. These little things can really snowball and build a lot of momentum into hey, I think I'm going to full on respond to the solicitation, because now the contracting officer responded to me. They gave some helpful answers. And geesh, I'm already halfway in, so why not just go all the way? So it can help to be a bridge instead of just looking at it cold or having no interactions if it's something that's kind of freaking you out. Now, if you want bonus points on this number 2 idea and you want to take it a step further, I say call a contracting officer. You can do the same thing, come with an informed question, and you're gonna play dumb a little bit, and I mean this in the best of ways. Because contracting is going to say, email these questions to me in writing. The goal isn't to try to get the answers to these actual questions over the phone. The goal is to have an interaction and engagement with a contracting officer on a phone call to shift yourself out of where you currently are, stuck and afraid, to holy crap, I'm hanging up the phone. I just spoke with a contracting officer for 15 minutes and they weren't as big and scary as I thought they were. And I was putting them on a pedestal and they're just a regular human being. And hey, this isn't going to happen every time you call, because a lot of them don't pick up the phone, right? So if you're going to do this, you want the bonus points, you got to call until somebody answers, until you actually have some sort of, significant engagement that can help move you in the direction of bidding and kind of getting out of your own way. So that's for bonus points. Now, idea number 3, if you're saying, Derek, I'm going to check out of this video, that's too scary for me. I'm brand new. I can't imagine, emailing a contracting officer. I don't want to say the wrong thing, let alone get on the phone and call them. If that's you, okay, we're going to make it a little bit simpler, because I know you guys are at all different stages with this. So this idea is to set up your saved searches and commit to reviewing them on a regular basis. Now, first off, setting up your saved searches, you do this in sam.gov, and you're going to do it with NAICS codes and or keywords. They can be separate, they can be both, they can be one. I recommend multiple that are broken down so that you get very dialed in feedback from each search. That way you can spend minimal time on each search, and then you can just bounce between, say if you have 2 or 3 searches, okay? So I recommend setting that up. It's something that you can do from the safety of sitting behind your screen. You don't have to talk to anybody just yet, or email anybody just yet, or even respond to something like a source of sought just yet. It gets you in SAM. It gets you using the functionality and the features that it has to offer as a system to benefit you. So at the end of the week, it's going to, or however often you have your at the end of every day, it's going to give you search results. Okay, so I want you to commit then to how often you're going to review these search results, because this is how you truly flesh and build out and complete that system. Just setting it up is not a complete system. You also have to review the outputs of the searches. That will make a full loop for you. I recommend 2 to 3 times per week. That way you're staying on top of the latest opportunities, especially number one, because opportunities don't always have a long solicitation response deadline. And number two, the time of this video, we're in the 4th quarter and it's hunting season as far as I'm concerned. So you got to make the most of the time. So 2 to 3 times per week, commit to reviewing this. And once you get that set up and say do that for 3 to 4 weeks, now you're going to have feedback. Am I happy with my searches? Do I want to create a different search? Do I want to delete this search? This is just a waste of time. It moves you from, again, currently where you are into a position of I'm actually doing things that legitimate veteran government contractors are doing. You're stepping into an identity of a legitimate government contractor, and you're stepping out of your old identity, which is somebody who's trying to learn about this stuff, and it's a whole lot of trying and a whole lot of fear and a whole lot of not doing anything. Okay, we're stepping out of that identity into somebody who does something. You're doing stuff, you're stepping into systems, and that's going to perpetuate and propel you into doing more things like that to really get you started in government contracting. Make sense? Now, idea number 4. This one's a little bit different, but a little bit of the same. Call a subcontractor. Very different than calling a contracting officer, right? Maybe not as intimidating in some senses, but maybe more intimidating in other senses. Maybe you're like, I don't have any problem emailing or calling a contracting officer, but contacting a sub, God, I don't know what to say. I'm gonna sound stupid. They're gonna think I'm wasting their time. There's a whole lot of objections that could come up to calling a subcontractor. Now, usually we need to do the things that we're most afraid of. And that's why, we've kind of got a palette here, and I'm giving you colors from all around the spectrum, all around the rainbow, because I want you to pick which one is the most painful one for you, so that you can step through that pain threshold and really have this shift in momentum that we keep talking about. So if subcontractors is the one that gets you the most geeked up, this is the one that I want you to do. Call a subcontractor. And I don't want you to worry about a script right now. I have discovery calls in our book and in our course, and it's great. But if you're not there yet, or even that is geeking you out, just keep it simple and just talk to another human being. You can do that. You can talk to another human being. Pretend it's your best friend, or pretend it's somebody that you are comfortable with talking to. Okay, get in that frame of mind. And you can just kind of start it off with, I'm just going to give you like a sentence or two, okay? You can call and you can let them know that you are looking for quotes because you have a job in the area that's local to them. You look them up online and they seem like a great company, and you're interested, if they're interested in looking at the work, okay? That's it, and maybe when you first pick up the phone, hey, can I speak with somebody in sales? Or hey, I'm interested in getting a quote for a job. That person may have to pass you on to somebody else. So before you go into your whole spiel, right, make sure you're talking to the right person. So I should have led with that. But then once you get the right person, hey, we have a job that's local to your area. We looked your company up. You look very credible. We need a partner to work on this. We're interested if you're interested in learning more about the work. You don't even have to get into it being a federal contract just yet, because this opens up the gate to see if they're even quoting jobs. If they're not quoting jobs, it doesn't matter if it's federal or commercial or whatever. We can see this like in very cyclical or seasonal type of scopes of work. For example, if you're calling in December trying to get snow plowing quotes from the commercial space to do a legal middleman move, you might be too late because they may have already booked up all of their services and all of their trucks, and all the spots are filled essentially by, October, November at the latest. So you'll find out if they are even quoting. That way, if later on you find out in the conversation that, oh no, we don't want to quote you, it wasn't because they weren't quoting. We've already eliminated that being an objection before it even became one, and they didn't even know, okay? So you're finding out right out of the gate if they're even quoting work, right? And we know it's close to them, so there shouldn't be any excuses for the geographic region either. We shouldn't be calling around people where it's 2 hours plus away because you're not even going to be cost competitive to work with that, unless, you know, you're taking a chance on bidding on something where there's not going to be a lot of quoters and the closest company is, you know, 2.5 hours, 3 hours away or something, and everybody has to do that, then okay, that's fine. But I'm not trying to confuse you here. Keep it geographically close. Make sure that they're quoting. And that really just gets everything that you need to get going. See where the conversation goes from there. Oh yeah, hey, so we're a federal government contractor. You know, we're able to do business in all 50 states. We focus on these type of services. We're looking for somebody who's local in the space, who can do a good job with us. We manage the contract. We're a prime, so the contract's with us, and we're looking to team. They're either interested or not. You don't need to give them more than that. They're either going to respond with a yes or a no. They could respond with some questions. If they do, that means it's not a no. Oh, okay, well, tell me more about it. Well, what's the job? You know, we're kind of busy right now. Or, hey, when will it need to start? You know, they're starting to qualify you. So that means it's not a no, but it's like a maybe or a depends. Okay, so then you take it that way down the conversation. Okay, so I've given you like a lot here. Maybe you need to rewind this part a little bit, but just have a conversation again with a normal human being. If you do this, if you're afraid of calling subs and you just approach it and you anchor in your mind, I'm just calling a person. They're not going to bite me. They're not going to bite my head off. Like, worst case scenario they're going to do is hang up on me, and that's probably not going to happen. So you're going to be just fine. The heaviest part is picking up the phone, get on Google Maps, you know, and I wouldn't just, you could practice. You know, this is a moral or ethical thing, and we'll move on to our next point, but I'm going to say you don't have to have a live bid to call them. If you just want to practice, you just want to do your first sub call, just do that first call them, right? I don't like that morally and ethically. It's like a fine line, like I'm saying, because a lot of subs get burned by primes, and we don't want to perpetuate that, screwing subs over, because that just makes it harder for everybody else to, you know, build relationships with subs, because they're like, oh yeah, you guys have been calling me, you just waste my time, right? So it's like, technically the right thing is to actually have a solicitation, but I don't know if you're there yet. If you're not there yet, you know, I don't know. Maybe you just do the source of SOT if you're not there yet. This is the more advanced one, but you're still on the fence. You're still kind of afraid. Have a solicitation. Make it real. All right. Find subs on Google Maps or whatever, and then have a real phone call. Okay. So that's what I will definitively say for number 4. It's got to be a real solicitation that you're calling on to call a sub. Don't waste their time. Keep it moral and ethical. That's where I'm going to plant my flag. So now, our last idea is not GovCon related per se. Number 5 is to make a public declaration of sorts. And a public declaration can be, you know, we hear about this like if we're embarking on a weight loss journey, or we're gonna, you know, I'm gonna learn piano or whatever, right? If it's just us in our heads trying to get started with something, government contracting or something else, we only have so much willpower, and we also have a lot of negative thoughts. It's not a great equation to get set up with, because eventually those negative thoughts are going to overpower our willpower, and we're going to fall off the horse. We're going to fall off track, and we may not ever get back on it. So if that's what our strategy is, we're almost setting ourselves up to fail, starting something new. Because anytime you start something new, it's probably going to be like drinking from a fire hose. It's going to be a lot of information, and you're going to doubt yourself. So instead, we can use some sort of public declaration to get leverage on ourselves and to swing that formula into our favor so that it's not just us. So this could look like telling a friend, hey, I'm going to do this. I want you to hold me accountable. Maybe you go online and you post something. Or if you want, this is even an invitation to you, pick your favorite social media platform and tag me. Okay, if you want some sort of accountability, tag GovKidMethod. And that way you can make a public declaration and have that accountability, and have accountability from me even, to whether it's something from today's list, or it's something else that you want to do, or if it's you're past all this but you just want to play the numbers game or whatever. Make some sort of public declaration to get that leverage on yourself, to help get you started in the game, or quite honestly started at whatever stage of the game you want to use this video for. Now I have one more bonus thing that you can do to get started in government contracting, and I mean this one quite a bit. If you haven't yet, we have an awesome training for you. I don't charge for it. The training is free. It's 1 hour training, and it's not like, oh, it's 1 hour, so maybe I'll get one or two good things. It's okay. Take 7 days, take a week of topic and research, and boil and condense that down to 1 hour. That is truly the value that we have in our training. And if you haven't gone through it, I highly recommend. The link will be down below for you to go through it. We have over 80 from this year, over 80 like positive, amazing comments from people that have gone through it. Of course, not everybody who goes through it leaves a comment, but that just goes to show how many more people have actually gone through it and gotten value from it and use it to help themselves, especially get started in government contracting. So definitely take advantage of that. I don't know why you wouldn't. Let me know what you thought of this video. I hope it was helpful. Like, subscribe, comment down below if there's something that you're wanting to be accountable with. Or like I said, tag me somewhere, Instagram, Facebook. We're on TikTok, of course, here on YouTube, LinkedIn, and we're on all the social media platforms. We're growing on all the channels. So see you guys there.